Talofa lava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Suisuki. Coming up,
the Cook Island people are the critical component of this situation.
New Zealand's Foreign Minister enters the chat. Also, Mariana Island locals are reeling from the death of its governor. And
the court even said it's well appreciated that even at 1.5 degrees, that is not safe for many countries.
A historic ruling on climate change. New Zealand has called on Cook Islands Prime Minister Mark Brown to test the views of the Cook Islands people and hold a referendum on independence from New Zealand. The comment was made in response to Mr. Brown's recent statement defending the nation's new strategic partnership with China. Mr. Brown said that if New Zealand cannot help fund their proposed infrastructure plan, then the country will go somewhere else and look for that help. New Zealand has paused nearly $20 million of funding for the Cook Islands after its government signed partnership agreements with China earlier this year without consulting New Zealand. I caught up with New Zealand's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vavasa Manaia Winston Peters, and began by asking him why he's paused funding to the Cook Islands and how long will the pause be in place.
It's because our special relationship has been called into question, and the Cook Island people are the critical component of this situation because our obligation is to the Cook Island people, both in the Cook Islands and the wider diaspora, in particular New Zealand and Australia. And so, politicians come and go, governments come and go, ministers come and go, but our purpose is to ensure the long-term enduring relationship between the New Zealand people and the Cook Island people. And dare I say it, many of us share the same ancestry as the Cook Island people. That's what this is about.
All right, well, speaking of relationships, what's going on with you and Prime Minister Mark Brown? I see in the latest exchange of comments, your office has said that perhaps he should call a referendum on independence for the Cook Islands.
Well, that's a very critical question you're asking, because if we're going to have a change in the relationship, then we're all duty-bound to consult our own people about whether they want that or not. And the only way to get that is a referendum. When we are going to look back on our 60 years of history and celebration coming up, there were times in the past when this issue arose, and we had agreements and pacts or declarations or statements like that to give us the parameters of our future relationship, as we last did in 2021 under Helen Clark and Dr. Moata, who was then the Prime Minister of the Cook Islands. And here we are, 23 years on, and that has been called into question. So we are saying, well, if it's going to change, then we are accountable not only to Cook Islands people, we're accountable to the New Zealand taxpayers. And there's a lot of Polynesians who are working 2 or 3 jobs paying taxes. They're happy to do that and to help out their island friends and the wider diaspora in the blue continent, but they also want accountability.
So earlier in the year, the Cook Islands signed these agreements with China. Did you find anything wrong with any of the agreements that they had signed, 4 of them?
Well, they were required under our arrangement and agreement to consult with us when these matters might affect more widely themselves, but also other countries and our relationship. To describe us as part of a trifecta when we've got this special relationship for 60 years is utterly wrong. We are in a special realm relationship. And over the years, though we have made some mistakes, we all do, it has been a seriously high-performing relationship. Look at the per capita earnings in the Cook Islands compared with, say, Tonga and other Pacific countries. The only one that's paralleled would be Palau in the whole of Pacific, and dare I say it, Nauru as well, Niue as well. So these are 2 countries in the Commonwealth of countries under our umbrella, so to speak. And it's an umbrella born of mutual agreement. It had obligations to consult, and this wasn't happening.
All right, so what can our cookie cousins do to amend the relationship?
Well, they can let us know whether they want the relationship or they want independence. Because if you behave like you want independence, then above all, that should be up to the Cook Island people to decide, not just the temporarily empowered politicians or a government. No, the whole population of the Cook Islands should have a say. We are, after all, only the servants of the people, whether it's the New Zealand or Cook Island government. We're not the masters here, and that's what we are saying. It's very important, and also it's a specific way to consult your people.
So is this the fault of Mark Brown's?
Look, it was not helping us to point fault, but we have to say there are things going wrong here. Why? Why weren't we talked to? Why weren't we consulted? To turn around and say, well, look, you signed a free trade agreement with China in 2008. You didn't consult us. Now, that's breathtaking by way of comparison, don't you think? And so it's these sorts of things where we are saying to the Cook Island people, we hope you know what's going on, and we hope you get to have a say.
All right, well, we've got the 60th Constitution celebrations coming up, as you've mentioned earlier. Why aren't you attending, Minister?
Because King Charles can't go, and the next highest person is the Governor-General. Are you saying that I'm more important than the Governor-General? I don't think so. And we're sending the highest person constitutionally in our country to go.
But you're well respected. You're seen as the uncle of, the Pacific. I'm sure the people want to see your face, Minister.
Well, you know something? If the highest person in the land constitutionally is going, then that's the person they should see. And this is very fitting, because that's the reason why we have this appointment. And as you know, the Governor-General went also to the Niue event of a similar importance and a similar age. Nothing new about that.
Citizens of the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas are still reeling from the death of Governor Arnold Palacios on Wednesday night. Tributes continue to flow in for the long-serving statesman who died aged 69 at the Guam Regional Medical Centre, where he was medevaced from Saipan after suddenly collapsing. Koroi Hawkins spoke with our correspondent in the CNMI, Mark Rabago, and began by asking him how things all unfolded on Wednesday.
So Wednesday, we got the press release from the governor's office that he was having a medical issue, and he was rushed to the Commonwealth Health Center, which is our lone hospital, to get evaluated. So we rushed there around 1 o'clock, and all the cabinet members, all the family were outside the emergency room, staying on vigil because the governor was inside getting checked. Then around 3 o'clock, somebody confirmed that he was going to be medevaced to Guam, to the Guam Regional Medical Center, so he could be seen by specialists. We don't know what illness until now. There's speculations, but I don't want to say. So he was airlifted around 3:30, and before that, the Lieutenant Governor said he was in good spirits, he was conversant, and all things pointed to him being, getting back, and recovering. And then all of a sudden, around 10:30, somebody called us. I don't want to say who, a source, that he died. Then a few minutes later, confirmation from from his spokesman, John Oliver Gonzalez, that the governor indeed passed. So this morning, amid all the sorrow, of course there should be a transition of power. There could not be a power vacuum. Lieutenant Governor David M. Amatang was sworn in as governor, replacing the late Governor Arnold Palacios. And then the Senate President Dennis C. Mendiola was sworn in as the new Lieutenant Governor, as per the CNMI Constitution. So everybody's in shock. Everybody is like in a zombie state. You could see there's no dry eye during the swearing in this morning. Even Governor Apatang now, while he was reciting his oath of office, his voice cracked and he stuttered a bit. He wasn't even able to say Commonwealth. There was a pause because of the overwhelming emotion. Even the Chief Justice who administered the oath of office, Supreme Court Chief Justice Alexandra C. Castro, was also overcome by emotion, and they hugged it out after the swearing in. So it's not even 14 hours, and CNMI is shocked. Palacios was like everybody's grandpa here, a very calming influence to everybody. He did his best during this very chaotic times in the economy and the world politics, and he will be sorely missed.
Looking back over his career, what are some standout things for you in his long record of service to the CNMI?
Well, any position he served. He was a representative first. Before that, he was a secretary of the Department of Land and Natural Resources. And after that, he became a representative, became speaker, Then he won a Senate seat. He became senator, then a Senate president, then lieutenant governor and governor. So he held all the positions, elected positions. He's a humble man. He had a vision. He'll be forever known to giving back confidence to the public about how the government runs, especially after controversy of his predecessor, who used to be his running mate too. He was the lieutenant governor of the previous governor, Ralph De Leon Guerrero Torres, and he brought transparency and a fresh start to the government after all the controversy during the Torres administration. As I said, he's like an older statesman here. He tried his best to. I I'm a loss for words here, but he tried his best to serve the islands, and he paid the ultimate sacrifice by dying in office.
The newly sworn in Governor Apatang, did he have some words for citizens and the public?
So he basically said he will continue what Palacios has started. That means transparency, honesty, and accountability to the public. He also did say that even when they both were in the politics for a long time. Actually, they were in the House of Representatives at the same time. And he said even then they didn't really see eye to eye in all issues, but they've tried to mend their differences and for the benefit for the cause of the Commonwealth. So he said they may not agree on everything, but they try to work on their differences for the benefit of the CNMI. So yeah, he said the governor is a good friend and he will try to keep his legacy going.
Any details yet emerging of the state funeral that is to come?
Okay, here's the deal. Because he died in Guam, it might take a while before the family gets a death certificate. So we don't know when his body can be repatriated back to the CNMI. But Apatang already went on record that he will have a state funeral, and he asked the legislature and the executive branches have to plan that. So we will have time to honor the legacy of Governor Arnold I. Palacios when he finally gets repatriated back here in the CNMI.
Mark, thank you so much for time blue. Tok sorry, condolences again to you and lo everyone lo CNMI lo this fala difficult time.
Yes, thank you very much for your condolences, and yes, we will strive to honor his legacy. Thank you very much.
Vanuatu's climate change minister says the Pacific now has more leverage in climate negotiations after the UN's top court found that countries can be held legally responsible for their greenhouse gas emissions. The president of the International Court of Justice, Yuji Iwasawa, says climate change is a major threat. From The Hague, RNZ's Jamie Tahana reports.
It's a major but non-binding opinion, which had been keenly awaited by Pacific nations and territories. In an opinion which took more than 2 hours to deliver here in The Hague, the court's 15 judges delivered a result Vanuatu's climate minister, Ralph Regenvanu, said was even better than he was hoping for. Stepping out of the brick and marble palace in which the court sits, Mr. Regenvanu was grinning from ear to ear.
Now the court has declared there is legal accountability for your actions and your conduct that caused climate harm, and there is accountability in terms of having to provide restitution for any harm caused historically and going forward. And so that is going to give us a lot more leverage in our arguments with our partners.
The UN General Assembly, in a campaign launched by Vanuatu, had wanted 2 questions answered. What were countries' obligations under current international law to combat climate change? And what consequences could countries face for their action or inaction? The court unanimously decided there was accountability under international law and opened the path for states to take legal action against one another. It also agreed there should be consequences, giving greater leverage to arguments around reparations for loss and damage for small countries who contribute little to the climate crisis, but who suffer the worst effects, like those in the Pacific. The Director of Climate Change at intergovernmental organisation The Pacific Community, Carola Pasisi, says leaders have been fighting for countries to have greater ambition.
The court even said it's well appreciated that even at 1.5 degrees that is not safe for many countries, and we know that those are our countries. At 1.5 degrees we're already losing up to 78% of coral reef systems upon which the majority of our fresh protein comes from. And so that was quite critical.
The court's opinion was the culmination of 6 years of advocacy, which started with a group of Pacific University students in 2019, who were frustrated at what they saw as a woefully inadequate system to address an international crisis.
What do we want? Now! What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want?
And outside the court's rambling gardens this afternoon, about 100 people gathered to watch the verdict on a big screen set up in a square. Among them was Siausi Vaikune, one of the original students who came up with the idea to take legal action. He says there's a long track record of Indigenous people coming up with solutions.
These are solutions that have again and again come from frontline communities, and it's a testament to the resilience. Of course, the resilience is not, but shouldn't be mistaken as tolerance. I mean, it's a constant fight for survival, and it's exactly that dramatic. Frontline communities have demanded justice again and again, and this is yet another step forward.
Another of the students, Vishal Prasad, says the court has told the world climate impunity is no longer allowed. He says the opinion is a lifeline for the Pacific.
I am convinced now that there is hope and that we can return to our families and communities back home in the Pacific saying the same. Today is historic for climate justice, and we are one step closer to realizing this.
So what now? Many countries are still trying to digest the lengthy opinion, but those who brought the case now say they have greater leverage for climate action. And the affirmation that climate action is not just a nice to have or a mere affirmation, but instead a legal obligation.
Caleb Fotheringham asked Jamie Tahana what the reaction was from Pacific leaders and students who started this journey 6 years ago.
It's a huge ruling. It runs into hundreds of pages. The president of the International Court of Justice this afternoon took 2 hours to deliver a summary of it. So the initial reaction is one of jubilation, particularly from the countries who took the case, Vanuatu and the students. But they're also saying they're taking it away. There's a lot to digest. There's not been much reaction from many other countries around the world, although I have just seen the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, welcomed this ruling from the court. But from Vanuatu, who initially pursued this claim 6 years ago on the recommendation of those students, 4 of whom were here in The Hague, they, it's fair to say, are ecstatic. They walked out of the Peace Palace here in The Hague, that big brick building, absolutely beaming, ear-to-ear grins. They've called it a landmark. They've called it historic. They've called it an opportunity and a chance for hope. So, and Ralph Regenvanu there was saying that it was more than even he thought would come. The judges really fell in favour of the claim that was brought by small island states from the Pacific and Caribbean and other countries who did speak in support of them.
Could we see Pacific governments suing other governments or potentially companies as a result of this ruling?
The option is there as a result of this ruling. So there is that possibility, and I put that directly to Mr. Regenvanu this afternoon, who also wouldn't rule it out. But there was also, they said, that hopefully this just gives greater impetus for other countries to act, that now the ICJ has made this declaration, it might just mean other countries make stronger commitments or move more to make the commitments they've already promised through things like the Paris Agreement. As we know, with many of those commitments made and the commitments countries make towards the Paris Agreement, many countries, particularly developed countries, are falling short. So with this now established that there are legal obligations and potential consequences, that might drive countries to meet those commitments before it could come to court action, is what a lot of the lawyers representing these Pacific countries said here. But yes, that's an option and that is on the table. But Mr. Regenvanu said it's something that they have to digest as they come to terms with what the court said today, and as countries in the Pacific look towards what further action they could take. But it's almost certainly going to be taken to the next COP summit. It's almost certainly going to be at the next Pacific Islands Forum, and other regional meetings are there. So yes, it is a beginning in some senses, and court action is an option now.
As you said, it sounds like Minister Regenvanu, he's hoping that countries will act as a result of this ruling. Is there any concern, though, that this, I guess, tool for climate action could become a little bit like other tools in the box, I guess, like the Paris Agreement, which people thought would really be quite effective, and it hasn't really reached the potential that people were hoping for? Could the ruling be similar?
The International Court of Justice is non-binding. It's a UN court. So there is that there. You need to look at countries like the United States and, many around the world, actually, that openly flout international law. So that is one of the worries that's come up. But I guess with this, compared to, say, the Paris Agreement, and you had fossil fuel producing nations and their testimony to the ICJ here saying that something like the Paris Agreement was enough. But what Vanuatu, other Pacific countries, argued here was that the Paris Agreement is just a commitment. It's just, an affirmation in many ways. What this does is provides a legal avenue that international law requires climate action. So it's not a commitment. This has a legal standing. So that gives an extra tool in the arsenal, so to say, for that action that Pacific countries want.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tōwha sui fua.